All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Study Abroad in Japan info session. My name is Andres Montaño, and I'm here joined by my coworker, Megan. Do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Sure, yeah. Hi, I'm Megan. I work with Andres at Green River College, and together we worked on planning and putting together this program for you. I was able to go and do a site visit to the host university back right after Thanksgiving. So it's very fresh in my mind. So I'll share with you some of the
Mhm.
photos I took when the time comes.
Thank you, Megan. And we're also here joined by Chad White, which is the faculty led for this program. Chad, you want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Yeah, I love talking about myself. I'm just kidding. Hi, I'm Chad. I'm the art department chair and faculty head of photography at Bellevue College. Probably have heard of it. Really excited about this program and this opportunity. I have, I like to say, quite a bit of experience in Japan. I'm not an expert on the language by no means, but I think it's exciting for me because I get to share what I love about Japan with others. So I'm glad to see so many people here today.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. So yeah, we're going to talk about the program highlights and everything you need to know for this fall. And it's nice to see that we have some representation here, different colleges. So if you just joined, just keep chatting, keep putting in the chat like where you're coming from, like which college you attend, and if you're planning to go this year or next year to Japan. And yeah, this program is, you see that we have a partnership of WCCCSA, it's a consortium, and this program, we offer it through this consortium thanks to that partnership. And it's a consortium conforming of 19 colleges in Washington State. I guess the acronym or the words of WCCCSA mean Washington State Consortium Community College for Study Abroad. And thanks to those partnerships and those resources that we are able to pull together, we're able to offer this program to you all. So it's nice to see that we have students from different colleges from that, specific colleges. So what are we going to talk on today is the location, where is the program going to take place? What are the program dates and what's included? What some of the trips that we'll be taking within Japan. We're going to talk, and you're going to be able to see some pictures of the campus facilities of Miyazaki Municipal University, which is the host institution. We're going to talk a little bit about the classes and what you're going to be doing in those classes in Japan, some of the activities and excursions that are being included in the program, the costs and budgets that you'll need to, take into account for this program. The scholarship and financial aid, which is really important, and especially early on, and the important key dates for this program, such as application deadline, payment deadline, and such. And of course, last but not least, the application process. So yeah, let's go ahead and start. So the locations for this Japan program this year is in Miyazaki. Specifically, the host university is Miyazaki Municipal University. As you see in the map, it is located in the southeastern coast of the Kyushu Island in Japan, and it's located in the capital city of the Miyazaki Prefecture, which is Miyazaki City. I guess Miyazaki is known for its weather, its mild climate, its beautiful coastline, and they have really wonderful landscapes and lush greenery. It's a really exciting location. First time that we're doing this program down there, and I know it's gonna be awesome. And I put for down here like the averages and like highs and lows and temperatures for the months that the program is gonna be developed in September, October, and November. So it's gonna be very pleasant. The city population, the city itself is like 300,000 like average, and it's a really small city compared to some other cities in Japan. And the population is about 1,000, but it still is very beautiful, and there's lots of things to do in this city. All right. So the program dates and trips. So the program itself goes from September 23rd to December 3rd. September 23rd, there'll be departure there, and we'll be arriving in Miyazaki September 24th. As I mentioned, it's going to be based in Miyazaki City, and then we're going to include 2 trips from Miyazaki to Kyoto and from Miyazaki to Tokyo. The Kyoto one is going to be a 3-night academic excursion. Very exciting because Kyoto is one of Japan's oldest cities, and it's very known for his rich history, the culture, and they have like stunning temples and shrines. And it's gonna be a 3-night, like I mentioned. And Tokyo trip, like, you know, Tokyo is like very known, capital of Japan, is the hub, international hub for like dining, for shopping, and doing like entertainment activities. And it's like the perfect combination between like traditional and modern, right? And as you probably many of you know, it's a very it's like a center of like pop culture, like anime, manga, and gaming, and that's very exciting. And also, we're gonna do some multi-day trips that are co-organized by the host university in Miyazaki that we're gonna talk a little bit later on in this presentation. So this program is a full quarter program. It's a 10-week program, and yeah, very exciting. All right, so I'm gonna hand it over to Megan for this portion.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what you'll see and where you'll be living and studying on campus. So this is the kind of main building and grassy sort of quad area at the Miyazaki Municipal University. It only has about 5 buildings that consist of the campus. As Andres said, there's about 1,000 students who attend this school. It's a public school run by the city, basically the municipality. And so that big tall building on your left, that's 6 stories high, and it has all the classrooms in it. It's very modern. Later we'll see pictures of the photos. And then straight across from you towards the right, there's that small 2-story building, and that's where the cafeteria is located. And upstairs is the medical center, like where the nurses station is. And then there's a very small little kind of convenience shop also in that building. Where this photo is taken is where like the administrator's offices are. And then there's a couple buildings behind here that you can't see, but this is really primarily where your classes will be. And the library is also in that large building. So the next slide, this is inside the big building. You can see some samples of what the classrooms look like inside. They're fairly modern and updated. You can see the computer lab there in the middle. I think they have Macs. On the left is, there are some chalkboards. There's a mix of chalkboards, whiteboards, but all those classrooms do have projectors and video capability. So might be a little different from what you're used to here. And then on the right, there is sort of like a hangout center for students to use. And they have this, you know, just informal gathering space where there were some students hanging out. Most of the students there are Japanese. They don't really have many international students who attend. So you guys will be kind of a novelty, and you might attract some attention, but that's a great way to make new friends quickly. So that's kind of a hangout lounge space, and you can check out DVDs if you actually have a way to watch DVDs on your laptop. Next is the library. So you can see it actually looks a lot like a library of any college here. It looks similar to the Green River College Library, I think, with, you know, the stacks of books. They have a lot of English language books and also access to journals, you know, academic journals. If your assignments require you to do research or anything, you can basically access those through their library. And then on the lower right, of course, they've got their manga collection. So there's like, that's like a 4-sided block bookshelf there, and you can check out those manga books for free and enjoy them. So that's kind of obviously a popular thing to see there. And let's see, more of the facilities. So I talked about the cafeteria. It's got this nice high ceiling. It was full of students right at lunchtime. Everybody was in there eating lunch. In the back left is where you actually get your food for the day. And so when you walk in that building, there's a menu board with pictures of what's on the lunch menu that day and how much everything costs. So it's going to be very affordable for you. You will need to buy all of your meals or prepare your food in your apartments. So it's very convenient there. And of course, there's vending machines and this little, I don't even know if you would call this a shop, the one in the middle bottom, but you can buy little snacks, you know, gum, candy, drinks, Band-Aids, just little things like that right there next to the cafeteria. And then there's a photo of the health center upstairs. They've got a nursing station in case you feel sick. You just need a place to get checked out. You don't have to even go to a doctor. You can come here first and they can help you. They also have a team of staff who are really friendly and willing to do translation for you if you need help translating your symptoms. All right, let's transition to your living space. So it's really about a 1-block walk from the edge of campus to these apartments. So these apartments, it's 2 buildings. One of them is for students and one is for faculty, and they're right next to each other. So Chad's going to be living about 20 yards away from you all. In his own apartment. And then you guys, there's 7 apartments in the main building for students, and each one will house 4 students. So they're basically 2 bedrooms, and you'll each share bedrooms. So here's a look at the inside of the apartments. They are traditional Japanese style, meaning as you can see on the left there, these are futons laid out on tatami mats, and that is how you will have your sleeping arrangements. So it is very different from what you might experience here. You can also notice in the upper left corner of that photo, there is an air conditioning unit, which is great because it is a warm, humid climate. And then you have this sliding glass door that leads out to the balcony where you can hang your clothing to dry. There is a washing machine in the unit, but I don't think it dries the clothes. So this photo of the bedroom, there's one basically just like it on the other side that is the same. And you just have this sliding door in between. So there's no hallway separating the bedrooms, you know, so you will need to be thoughtful about your neighbors and being quiet when it's bedtime. Then there is this kind of galley kitchen space with everything you need: pots, pans, microwave, rice cooker, refrigerator, stovetop, you know, a few basic utensils and things. If you get there and you find like, there's not this one thing I really need, you will need to go to like the dollar store or the $3 store and get those couple items, which is easy enough to walk to on your own. Here's another couple shots from inside the apartment. So on the left, that's the dining room, and it is, you know, in the same space as that galley kitchen that you saw, but you can see it's pretty large. They did talk about maybe adding some more like comfy chairs. That would be more of a hangout space in addition to the dining table. So we'll see if that happens. And then the bathroom is good because every element of the bathroom is separated in a separate room. So in the middle, you see the sink and then the washing machine. On the right-hand side, there is a room that's just for the shower bathtub. And then there's a separate little room that's just for the toilet. So that works out really nicely for sharing with 4 people. You know, if one person's in the toilet, another person can be using the shower, another person can be using the sink all at the same time. All right, so that's all I have to share about the accommodations. If you have questions about them, you can type them in the chat and then we can address them at the end.
Thank you, Megan. Well, now we're gonna talk about the classes, and before I let Chad take over, I'm just gonna talk about a little bit about the third one, which is the Japanese language class. It is gonna be a language class, full language class, and it's gonna be offered in various levels, which means that you're gonna have to take a placement test, online placement test before you go to Japan, before your travel dates. And then the Japanese professor required for our students to memorize the katakana and hiragana alphabet, which are, pretty interesting and pretty easy to learn before the trip. So I just want to quickly mention that about the Japanese language. So chat.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about the classes. I don't know how much time I have, but I'll give a brief overview. So as you've seen, I'm offering two courses, one in art appreciation and one in digital photography. Both of these classes can be configured to meet the intermediate or advanced level. I also think these are exceptional choices for planning a trip around the Miyazaki area as well as into Tokyo and Kyoto. I'll talk a little bit about the art appreciation course first. So I don't know if anybody has ever had any experience with art history courses before, but art appreciation is sort of a studio artist's take and delivery on art history courses. So it is designed just a little bit differently from the perspective of a practicing artist. So it has that going for it. But I can describe just a few of what we would do during a few of the weeks. So we would start off by looking at the foundations of Japanese art. So talking about prehistoric to Heian period, but then quickly move through some of the more important principles, which carry over into the contemporary art that we would be looking at. So looking at wabi-sabi, looking at Ma and some other disciplines. We would then be moving into like traditional and classical Japanese arts. This is a really opportune visit because you're going to be surrounded by it. It is like literally everywhere. It's hard to escape it. It's one of the fantastic things about Japan. So no theater, tea ceremonies, calligraphy, ikebana. These are all really great subjects in here. And then we, talking about Edo periods, Meiji restoration periods, which is really relevant coming from Western society. So we do spend a little bit more time within that area, but mostly talking about the influence of Western art on Japanese art and vice versa, and timing it with this introspective look at Japanese opening up to the Western world at this time. And then, of course, we move into modern and contemporary art, which is really one of the most fascinating things when we're looking at art appreciation and Asian influence. So that includes art, architecture, urban design, looking at manga and anime as contemporary art forms. I have a few places that hopefully we'll be able to see some of these art forms sort of in more celebrated form than what we're used to seeing in Western society. So excited about that. And this, of course, includes visits to national institutions and smaller organizations so that we can see these things firsthand and we can talk about them socially as a group, which I think is really exciting and really adds to sort of the embedded cultural awareness aspect of why we're probably all interested in traveling to Japan to study. So before I take questions, I'll talk about the Intro to Photography course, which I think photography and travel abroad experiences are kind of like matches made in heaven. Photography is a really fantastic way of exploring surroundings as well as looking at personal opinions and sort of forming introspective opinions and things like that about where we are at. The camera is also just a great tool to sort of help us explore our surroundings and different cultures. So I think it's a really exciting component just for those reasons. But the class is intended for intro students. It can be catered to intermediate and advanced students if you've taken intro to photography in the past. It's also designed to be used with cell phone cameras, as well as larger, point and shoots, as well as, your regular mirrorless cameras. So that usually covers most students just in terms of equipment. So it would be a mistake to think that you would have to go out and buy something just to be prepared for the class. Although would recommend better cameras. You know, you're going to have mementos and memories that you're going to be capturing at the same time, and better equipment is going to help you along those ways. But it's going to cover everything from how to use the camera, how to use the camera to interact with your surroundings, how to use the camera to break open barriers when there's cultural divides in language and behaviors. There's urban photography involved. There's these lessons on night photography that's related to exposure problems, which can be really fun and challenging at the same time. I like to do long form assignments at a certain point within the quarter, which I think is really great. You can think of it sort of as like a photo essay, and I think that's particularly well built for a trip like this, just because it's going to allow us a few weeks to work very specifically on a project that's personal to you and what you find interesting. This is a great opportunity to sort of learn how photography works, not only in combination with other photographs as we sort of work in this long form manner, but it is an excellent way of brushing up on our technical skills with shutter speeds and aperture controls, your basic camera controls, as well as software controls, so using Photoshop. So I use predominantly Photoshop in all of my classes. There are certain workarounds that I usually allow every quarter when I work with students. So I'm always kind of flexible, but all of my demos and all the instructions that we do together will all be given through Photoshop. So it's helpful just to know that. It looks like there's a Mac computer lab, which I'm really, really excited about because all of my demos are built on using the Mac environment. But I always appreciate students and see it more often now that students are bringing in their own computers and laptops, which I think is a fantastic way of learning because you always have your materials with you. They're just in the laptop. So like hard drive space and things like that. And you're always carrying your pictures around with you. You can always download Photoshop that way as well, or if you prefer to use something like Adobe Lightroom, so you can be prepared and you can be ready, and then you can continue working on it in the after hours or when you have breaks and things like that. So my classes aren't designed to burden students with a high entry cost. I mentioned that with the use of the cameras. Bellevue College, we provide Photoshop to our students. And so I'm hoping that we'd be able to work something out, some sort of licensing deal or something along those lines. Photoshop is also available on the web these days. So don't think that you need to have like the biggest and baddest and most brand new computer in order to do well. You can run actually really efficiently and get things done really well just using the new Adobe over the web service, which is really nice because it opens it up and it's a more equitable practice for a lot of students. So excited about that. I will go ahead and talk about the destinations, maybe, I guess, at this point. And I think it's a good segue because it relates to some of these assignments and what we're looking at within these classes. So I can talk a little bit about Miyazaki here, just because I'm super excited about Miyazaki. So believe it or not, when I was in high school, many years ago, I lived in Southern California near the beach, and I had an exchange student who actually was from Miyazaki Prefecture. And this didn't dawn on me when I was talking to all the study abroad folks, but then I remembered that it came about, and we sort of understood this because we would take this exchange student to the beach. We would take them to Disneyland. We would take them to like Big Bear Mountain, go snowboarding and things like that. But then it rang a bell with me with the connection with the surfing environment and the weather conditions in Miyazaki. So I just thought that was a nice like little touch point there. Miyazaki, for this class experience, I think is an exceptional fit. And I think mostly because of the time of year that this trip is planned for, and the weather conditions and all of the interesting and fascinating things around the prefecture that are within distance to travel to. So not only does Miyazaki have things like Aya, which is really close. There's a big suspension bridge there, which is you can do a Google search for it right now. You can find that. It's amazing. There's the Tachahira Gorge, which has the waterfalls. You can rent boats, and you can. So these are all like places for like student excursions that you can plan and think about if you were on the trip. The surf culture part, I think, is an interesting aspect because it's kind of like a contrast to what we normally think of in Japan. We normally think of like Tokyo and nighttime atmosphere. I mean, if you're like me, when I think of Tokyo, the first thing that comes to my mind is like Lost in Translation, the movie, if you've seen it. That sort of interesting atmosphere. Um, Moving into Tokyo, this trip offers a fantastic opportunity, extended, I would say. I was really delighted to hear that we could spend more than just 2 days in Tokyo because it really is an expansive place. So the trips that have been approved and that we're looking at in Tokyo include areas of Shibuya, include areas of Shinjuku, include areas of possibly Asakusa. So within Tokyo, these are all neighboring, encircling areas. I would call them sort of like very large neighborhoods. And we can basically use the JR train system to just basically travel around in one giant loop to get all of these. So some of these planned excursions include Team Lab Planets. If you have not heard of it, you should immediately go watch a YouTube video after this. Team Lab Planets right now is the epicenter of this combination of art and technology. It like the best exposition of this like on the planet right now. You probably have seen it in the Instagram feed if you just did a search on Japan. It's like sort of the place to sort of be if you want to look like you care about art, that sort of thing. So Team Lab Planets, really fascinating because it's an immersive experience. It's both visual as well as sensory. So parts of it include wading in shallow water. Parts of it include certain textile and textural components. It's a completely immersive sort of environment where each room and exhibition you travel through, it allows you to sort of have this dramatic shift in not only how your body is responding, but also, you know, your intellectual mind as you are sort of engaging with the art and watching the art in real time. So Team Lab Planets is certainly incredibly exciting. And I mentioned this, but you should definitely do a search for it after this, just so you can kind of get amped up about it. Also including the Tokyo Photo Art Museum. This one's really exciting. I'm the type of person who gets excited about going to museums, but this one in particular, I think is exciting because it's a contemporary showcase of Japanese photographic works. And the Japanese culture is an epicenter of innovation and evolution in not only photographic artwork, but in photographic technologies. So this is a really great place to sort of see this firsthand and in person rather than like online. Also includes the Tokyo National Museum. So there's a lot of art that exists outside of photography. So this is partly what's specific to the art appreciation course. So looking at some contemporary artists from Japan and influenced by Japanese art. So the Tokyo National Museum is a really fantastic way of seeing that, but also seeing contemporary architectural styles at the same time. The Tokyo Municipal Tower is a observation deck. So it essentially is just a way for us to all engage in and experience and visually see the vast, expansive landscape that makes up Tokyo. I think it is immensely important for all students on this trip just to understand that they are in the largest city on the face of the earth. And so being at this observation deck at the Municipal Tower is a really great way of just sort of getting your bearings and understanding where we were traveling from and where we were visiting in the city and things like that. Plus, we get to travel up the municipal government building on the way there. And so we get to peek into the windows and see what the Japanese DMV looks like on the way there, which for me as a photographer, like nothing is boring. So excited about that. And then the last thing on here is I added this one. I actually thought this one would be kicked off, but I added it for fun and it made it on here. But Tokyo has a lot of immersive, fun and interesting pet-oriented cafes. You probably have heard of like cat cafes and things like that in the past. I chose the Micro Pig or the Mini Pig Cafe as a place to visit. It's one word to describe it. It's just cool. I mean, it's just like it's interesting. It's fun. But the academic experiences, we get to understand sort of this concept of how animal and animal lore and animal spirit makes its way deep into the Japanese culture, and everything else that we see, including even going back into art history within the art appreciation course. So I think it was a nice round out here, and I just want to say thank you for including it. It's just a fine, like really fun break. It's usually how I use these cafes. And then Kyoto. So you may notice that Tokyo and Kyoto, the names are really interesting. They're actually anagrams. And there's a reason for this. Kyoto actually used to be the capital of Japan. And Kyoto is one of the oldest cities that actually survived after World War II. So it's a really fascinating place. And like the anagram suggests, it is a complete like opposite, this like dividing of culture between old Japan and new contemporary Japan. So I think this matchup and this pairing is immensely intellectually rewarding, just first and off the bat. Kyoto is also a huge tourist spot. Many of us have already heard of it. Kyoto is not only beautiful, it's romantic, it's classic, it's traditional. You have opportunities to not only witness geisha as they go along their daily work, but we also get to see rickshaws, and we get to see original architectural styles, and we get to see the evidence of temples and shrines, which make this really interesting contemplative experience, depending on if you go to Kyoto or Tokyo first, right? It's always fascinating to visit. So in Kyoto, we plan on the Arashiyama Bamboo Grove, which is a really, really beautiful place, and also provides a really fantastic place for learning objectives using the camera. So it's a fantastic photogenic spot, certainly a memory-making place. It's just a short distance out of the city hub area of Kyoto, and makes for a fantastic day trip. You can do a Google search and you can just see the towering groves of bamboo within the experience. I'm also trying to include, possibly, if we can, a day trip, or it could be an experience that students may take within a break. There's also a monkey park that's located right outside of the Arashiyama Bamboo Grove, which is an interesting thing that exists. But mostly, Kyoto is going to be about walking the districts of Gion. So Gion is one of the oldest districts in Kyoto. It's about half of Kyoto itself. So the main train station was in the more contemporary and urban environment of Kyoto, but many of these excursions that will be on Kyoto take place in the Gion district. So Gion is the older section, like I mentioned. Includes the Hanamikoji Street, which is exactly this picture that we're looking at in the slide here, which is a network of alleyways, cobblestone streets. It is very busy during tourist season, and it's an interesting case study in tourism and traditional culture all at the same time. So it's a really fascinating place to visit. They have excellent food, excellent people. Everyone is very friendly. And at the same time, it's a throwback to before Edo period in Japan. It's absolutely nuts. Also included in this within the Gion district is the Samurai Ninja Experience. So the Samurai Ninja Experience is also a museum. So on the academic side, looking at this period in time, which we're sort of walking and being immersed already within this throwback of Kyoto in the Gion district. And then the Samurai Ninja Experience makes it a bit more tactile, as we can have discussions and you can sort of experience firsthand sort of the samurai suits of armor. And we can look at the weaponry and we can talk about the purpose and the reasoning, and a bit of the class systems that existed in Japan during that time. So the Samurai Ninja Experience will actually be a new one for me. I've known about it, but I have not done it. So I'm really excited about this. And I think it's a really great activity for a group. It should make some really fun selfies, as most samurai masks have really great and awesome mustaches. So that should be fun. Just a little bit more about Gion. Gion is all walkable. Tokyo is all walkable, but it's just immense in size. So most of the time you try to jump on trains whenever you can, but Kyoto is a little bit more of an intimate experience. So a lot of walking, a lot of picture taking. There are a large portion of the city that we are not allowed to take pictures in, and we don't want to break those rules. Japan is beginning to crack down on bad behavior. We can take the cell phone and social media for that. But because of that, we have a lot of site trips and resting points at some of the shrines and temples. Kyoto has an immense amount of shrines and temples. They provide really great opportunities, not only kind of just sit, have a snack. Sometimes there's coffee carts, sometimes there's like snack carts in these locations. But they offer really beautiful grounds for opportunities for discussion on landscape garden design and architectural design. But at the same time, they're a little bit easier of locations for you to do temple activities and shrine activities that you might feel intimidated by, which is usually really exciting. And at the same time, there's so much space within these areas that they provide really great short teaching lesson opportunities. So using the camera in particular ways, and using the camera in certain controls, depending on the time of day, that sort of thing. Some of these shrines are open 24 hours, which is tremendous. I would also like to say that in Japan, the things that are open 24 hours, they have constant security supervision, which kind of blew my mind, which I was really excited about. So safety is really never really at the top of my mind, just in terms of getting around and asking for help and things like that. But certainly we always want to be careful, right? Maybe questions or maybe some discussion on some of the Miyazaki activities that
So
are
chat,
organized.
if you wanna, I think we have a section at the end for questions. So if
Yeah,
if
okay.
students have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and then we'll try to answer it at the end. Thank you, chat, for that detailed description. As
Yeah.
you can see, it's a lot. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
activities
And
planned,
and
and
my apologies. I can like keep going. So,
no,
you know,
now I
it's
can
like
hear you
it's like
forever.
yeah.
We only have so much time, and
Yeah.
as you can see, there's a lot planned for this trip. So activities may change to kind of like best fit the
Mhm.
schedule. So I gotta say that because we're still working on
Mhm.
the program. We're still working on getting, the tickets for those activities. So it may change,
Mhm.
but yeah, this is
Mhm.
exciting. All of you mentioned it's so
Mhm.
exciting. A last thing to mention about these places is just, it is for nature lovers. For example, Miyazaki, right? It is
Yeah.
beautiful. It is uh, the season for the what's it called? The blossom season. The
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just so colorful, so nice. And for those who seek tranquility and a nature experiences, it's just the best places. And then we'll dive into the culture fully. All right, I'm gonna move on to the cost of this program. So the program fee for this particular Japan study abroad is gonna be 7,800, and this fee includes airfare and airfare from Seattle to Miyazaki and back, and also the airfare that is, from Miyazaki to Tokyo and back, and from Miyazaki to Kyoto and back. It also covers accommodation. You saw the pictures that Megan showed earlier. It covers basic medical insurance if anything happens, and then the trips that we had mentioned, and yeah, either in Miyazaki in Tokyo, and some of the local transportations for those cities as well. Um, a separate thing you have to take into account is your tuition for those 15 credits that you'll be taking, right? It's separate from the program fee. So for Green River students specifically, it's around $1725 dollars, but if it may vary from college to college. So you just have to look at your own college to see for those 15 credits how much it'll be, and then you'll have to budget it in. So that brings us to a total of like 9,500 approximately. And there are also some additional costs that, students in the past that have been to Japan, that done the trip, have mentioned is around 2,500 to $5,000, but that depends on the person, right? As Chad mentioned, like books or materials are gonna be minimal for his classes. So you're gonna save some money there, but for food, like whether you cook at home or you wanna, go out every night, like it depends on you, like, and that adds up in your own personal expenses, I guess. And the entertainment, those free weekends that you'll have, and you probably wanna, experience the local cities and the local places, and of course that you'll have to take that into account in your budget and your pocket, and the local transportation it takes to go there. And if you're going to do some personal travel outside with what we offer, that also is like an additional cost you have to budget. So if my math is correct, overall, program fee, tuition, and additional cost, it will be around 12,000 to 14, $15,000. So definitely you have to um, budget, and the good thing is like the US dollar goes a long way. Like the exchange rate is like very favorable for Americans, or US citizens, or people that have dollars. So that's a good thing. Like you'll find out that really good meals, for example, are very cheap down there. So yeah, that's a good point in your favor. And it's a good segue, I guess, to talk about scholarships and financial aid. Um, I guess the main thing before we go like to explaining this topics or these opportunities is to apply earlier. As you can see, the deadlines are upcoming. So the earlier you apply to the program, the more opportunity you have to apply to several scholarships and maybe fund the trip, right? I listed here some specific ones that applies to Japan. The Freeman Asia applies to Japan, and it's up to $5,000 that you may have, or may have if you get the scholarship. And it's mainly focused for financial aid recipients or financial aid students. The deadline is April 2, so yeah, the earlier you apply, the better. Washington Women in Need is for those students who identify as women, and they're 18 years old or older, and you can get up to 5,000 in aid if you get the scholarship, and you have to demonstrate that financial need. The GRC Foundation, this one is specific for Green River students. It offers a range of opportunities that you can apply, and you can apply to study abroad or Japan in this case, and it goes from 500 to $1,200, and also upcoming deadline April 30th. And we have an additional one for GRC students, is the Ross Jennings, and we have a few of like 500 to 1,000, and you can apply right after we receive your application. So also, lastly but not least, like if you or your parents are part of a union or credit unions, like the Boeing Employee Credit Union or the Washington State Employee Credit Union, they offer some scholarships that you can use for study abroad. So if you want to know about these and also others that I haven't included in here. You can scan the QR code that is right there in the corner, the right side, and then you'll find the Green River website with all the information with different types of scholarships, national level, GRC specific, identity based, that you can use research and apply to them. All right. So these are like the key dates for this particular program. We release, or this program basically at the beginning of this month. Like, you are able to apply right now if you want, and the application deadline is June 3rd. Right, we already started receiving like some applications, which is awesome. The earlier the better, the more money that you can raise and fund your trip. But keep in mind, June 3rd application deadline. The program fee payment deadline is June 24th. So when you apply to the Japan program, and if you get accepted, you have to pay a $450 deposit within 2 weeks of that acceptance. And the balance would be due, the due date will be June 24th, right? Pre-departure orientation, very important, August 3rd. That day is a Saturday, and it's a mandatory in-person orientation that we'll have in Green River College. And basically, it's like almost like, it's like 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. day, and we talk about like all the details of the program, right? The key information. We're gonna try to do some exercises with students, the icebreakers. We're gonna do some cultural competency ideas, or activities. So it's a really important for you to be there. And also, Chad mentioned like all the do's and don'ts that we need to uh, take into account in Japan. So that day is very crucial. So keep that in your calendar if you're planning to apply, or if you already have applied. Tuition, this one varies by college, but specifically for Green River College, for fall semester, tuition deadline is August 28th. But yeah, look at your own calendar, your own tuition deadline, your own college, and you'll find out like when you have to take care of that as well. And the study abroad days, as we said before, is a full 10-week program. It started from September 23rd to December 3rd. So those are the key dates. All right, the application process. So every type of student is eligible to apply. If you're a domestic student, if you are an international student, if you're a Running Start student, you are able to apply to this program. The basic requirements for those students is the ones, the items number 2, 3, and 4, right? You have to be 17, at least 17 years old by the time of departure, which is September 23, 2024. You have to at least completed 12 college credits, or 12 plus college credits, and then you must have a 2.5 cumulative GPA or above to be able to meet those requirements. And then the application form is really easy. I put it there in a QR code. You can scan it if you want, and you see the process. But basically, it's just an online form with basic information about yourself. And then you'll be required to do like a very short essay that where we will want to know, like, why do you want to study abroad in Japan? And then why is this significant in your professional and academic goals? And that type of questions will be asked for that very short essay. And then we'll ask you to provide two contact information for two people that will give you recommendations. One must be a faculty member, and the second one can be your boss, or can be your mentor, or your church peers. And yeah, after we receive those recommendations from those people that you listed in the application form, we'll invite you to a short interview, and then you'll know the acceptance, whether you got accepted or not, like right after that. So that's kind of like in a nutshell, like how the application process works. But if you have any questions, just scan the QR code, or ask the questions at the end of this session. All right, which is right now. Thank you. If you have any questions, this is the right time to ask it. I haven't looked at the chat. I don't know if there are many questions in the chat, but yeah.
I see Uli's hand is up. I just want to mention two more things that we should say. One, there is a maximum cap of students who can go on this trip, and that is 28 because there are only that many beds in the apartments. So if we reach 28 before the application deadline, we'll start a wait list. In the past, students have had success getting off of the wait list into the program because things come up and sometimes people do decide to drop out or defer. So 28. So even if you apply, on June 2nd, it might already be full by then. So not to stress you out, but the sooner you apply, the better. And then second, I wanted to mention with the deadlines, after you get accepted, say your home college coordinator accepts you, then you'll have 2 weeks from that date to pay a deposit to hold your spot in the program. That deposit comes out of the program fee and it's $450. So that shows us you're serious about committing and that it helps us be able to put our own deposits down on the program costs like the group airfare. So I just want to mention those two things. Uli, what's on your mind?
I just wanted to clarify. So if you are a Whatcom student, an Olympic student, a Shoreline student, you apply at your college for this program, and we admit you, and then we hand you over to Green River, just to make sure that everybody understands that too. Thanks.
Question in the chat that says, where will we be flying into? You'll fly direct from Seattle to Tokyo and then catch a connecting flight from Tokyo to Miyazaki. There is an airport in Miyazaki. It's just 20 minutes from campus, which is really nice. Next year, I'm assuming the location is subject to change. Possibly, but unlikely. We're pretty, excited about this new partnership with Miyazaki Municipal University. So unless something goes drastically wrong, which I don't expect at all, having visited them and met them, we intend to keep this partnership in this location for a long time. Chad, earlier somebody had asked about computers and you didn't answer it directly. Would you mind, is a laptop required or not?
Honestly, I don't think it's necessary. I think using the equipment there would be sufficient. We don't do anything so technically difficult that, you need a supercomputer to do it, or even a newest model. That being said, however, though, I do think just overall, just traveling within Japan for such a long period of time, I think having a laptop would be pretty great. I mean, if you can have access to one, that being said, but it's not necessary to complete coursework.
And then for your photography class, what
Mhm.
kind of camera can they have or use?
Yeah, so cameras can range anywhere from, your big honker, super expensive ones, all the way down to a cell phone. For students using cell phones in my classes, I do suggest that they look into the purchase of an app that allows a bit more control, photographically speaking. And these apps usually cost like $2.99, $3.99 at the most, sometimes up to $5. But even just learning the tips and tricks that are built into the phone itself can usually suffice. So it can be anywhere from nothing if you have a cell phone camera already, all the way up to, $1,500 if you want to go that route.
Uli?
Yeah, so we just had the Berlin pre-departure orientation, and one of the instructors or the instructor brought up this thing of why you should why it would be helpful to bring a laptop. If you use a cell phone the whole time to take pictures and you lose it or it gets stolen, all the pictures are gone. So if you bring a laptop, you can download it, every couple of weeks. So even if you should lose your cell phone, you still have that the memories and the pictures of that time. And I know at Whatcom at least students can now check out laptops for the whole quarter. I don't know how it is at other schools, but at least look into that. Go to your library. They are normally the people who have laptops available for checkout. So take a laptop, my advice.
Yeah, just to add on, laptops are like an interesting way of like connecting back to something familiar often. I think when you do extended traveling. So having a laptop in your possession is, you can sign into certain services that you use back at home, or even just consumption of media, right? I mean, Netflix, right?
There's questions in the chat. One says, do you have Wi-Fi at the apartments? I'm pretty sure yes. And can you stay in Japan after the end of the program with your own arrangements and book your own flight home? So technically, yes, you can do that. And then we would have to adjust the program fee for you because that $7,800 includes group airfare. So we'd have to figure out what that price will be for you. I really do prefer if students take the group flight because we don't want to worry about coordinating 29 different connecting flights from Tokyo down to Miyazaki. When my boss and I did the site visit last fall, our flight out of Seattle was delayed and we ended up missing our connection in Tokyo and had to get a hotel at the airport and fly out to Miyazaki the next day. So I'd hate for that to happen to you guys and then things get all, messy. So it's my preference if everyone does the group flight, but I do understand if you have, great desire and the means and the time to stay after and travel independently throughout Japan, we can certainly talk about it. So it's an option for you. But do let us know as soon as possible if that's really a serious wish for you. How will international purchases work? Will we need to convert our money beforehand? Chad, do you want to answer that one?
Oh yeah, I love talking about this. So believe it or not, and I think somebody mentioned this in the chat, slightly, is believe it or not, Japan uses a lot of hard currency still, quite a bit actually. You can load up electronic cards, like Suica cards or welcome Suica cards you can get at the airport like this. But you will find that a lot of places, when you are out and about, will only take cash and you will end up having pockets full of change. So one of the other things I would recommend is bringing a coin purse. It can be extremely useful because you'll end up wanting to spend it, and it's in high denominations of value at the same time. That being said, there are many places you just have to be aware that they usually apply it to the windows or to the doors of certain restaurants or cafes and things like that. They will display Visa symbols. And then, of course, you can use Visa. If you're using a credit card, I would advise that you look in to see if your credit card company is going to charge you additional fees for those transactions. But most of them do not these days, but it's better just to be sure. So I use a combination all the time of cash and card. And I find that, and what I'm suggesting is that you will use cash more than you think you will in Japan, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, there is a Suica card app you can use. It's especially useful when you're traveling in train stations because then you can just tap your phone onto the sensors. And you can also use it at the vending machines. I wanted to burst out loud when you showed the image in the university of the vending machine because the vending machine experience is like, make your eyeballs huge because you're like, I can get so much stuff out of a vending machine. Like what's happening? Some vending machines certainly will take cards. tap to pay sort of things like Suica cards. Um, but you can also use cash. And I find most often, like if I need water or something like that, like that's where the change in my pockets or my coin purse like usually comes in handy.
I know we are over the time of the allotted hour, so if you have to leave, that's fine. We're recording all this and we'll send you the link afterward. But since there are questions and people are still here, we're happy to stay on and answer them.
Mhm.
And Uli reminded me that we should mention there is one particular issue around medications with Japan that we should mention. So Japan is
Yeah.
really strict about bringing in prescription medication, and we are fully equipped to help you with that, not to worry. So, you know, the primary issue is usually with ADHD medications that some specific ones are not allowed in Japan. They are considered illegal. So there is, one or two alternatives for ADHD that you could switch over to, and you'd want to work with your doctor, in several months beforehand leading up to it, because making a transition on medication is a pretty, big deal. So, and then for other long-term prescriptions, if you're taking any kind of prescription that you require more than 1 month supply of, which you will because you're there for 10 weeks, if it's something you take daily, you do have to submit paperwork to get a pre-approval to bring that medicine into the country. If you don't, it could be confiscated at the border and maybe worse. I don't know. But it's called the Yakan Xiaomai form. And please excuse my pronunciation if it's bad. But we have a link to it in the enrollment forms that you fill out after you get accepted. And it's just like a paper, and it takes about 4 weeks time to get that approval. So they'll look at it, they'll see what you're taking, and then tell you if you're approved, and then you bring that approval with you in your carry-on with your medication when you fly there. So you'd want to talk to your doctor about getting a full 10-week supply of whatever prescription you're bringing, because you may or may not be able to find it in Japan.
There's one about what's better to buy a local SIM or what's the best option. And I would say just, it'll be good to check with your own provider, like what types of plans they have for like roaming international. They often are not that great, so you might be
Mhm.
better off like getting a SIM card, right? But just check because I know some providers are better than others too, and that way you wouldn't even have to like, swap SIM cards and
I think is
things like that.
T-Mobile pretty good?
I think
Yeah,
T-Mobile, yeah.
yeah, I use T-Mobile. And T-Mobile's pretty good, but I also use T-Mobile in conjunction with an eSIM company through an app on the phone. I use Airalo. There's other ones. And you can sort of pay as you go. So if you're consuming too much data, and you can just do it on the fly, which is really nice because you will have a tendency to be probably constantly looking at Google Maps. Um, so I find the eSIM alternatives to be really nice because you can have it set up, and then when you literally get off the plane, you just flip the switch and then it activates and you're ready to go. Um, but for the Wi-Fi services around campus and things like that and near the housing, you should be fine there.
Yeah, it may not be as fast as you're used to at home,
Hmm.
but that's also part of a nice cultural experience to force yourself to slow down and disconnect a little
Yeah.
bit and just appreciate where you are in space and time.
Yeah. And you can always make calls over Wi-Fi. So you just turn on the option in your cell phone, which also, of course, will allow you to make regular phone calls over the internet connection. But you can also like FaceTime family members and things like that.
Yeah. WhatsApp is the app for
Yeah.
it is free. You can call
Hmm.
video chat for free only if you're connected to Wi-Fi or data.
Hmm.
I think I saw earlier a question about like roommates. So before, your departure date, like there'll be plenty of opportunities to for you to connect with other students. We usually set up like a Discord channel so you know each other beforehand. And also in the pre-departure orientation that I mentioned on August the 3rd, that will be like a little activity that we'll do. So basically, you'll know each other with your potential roommates, and then we'll send also like is it a roommate form type of form that is like it asks questions about like what type of person are you prefer? Are you a tidy person? Consider a tidy person. You don't mind to be messy. You're a late hour kind of person or not, and that kind of allows us to best match you with other roommates. But if you know each other beforehand, and then connect with someone, you can also like suggest like roommate matching. And of course, it'll be gender specific. So man with man, females with females, and yeah, we'll try to match you the best of our ability, and you'll be plenty of time for you guys to connect before and make those decisions.
Yeah, and then I also mentioned in the chat if students are transgender or non-binary, that's totally fine as well, and we're happy to accommodate that. We'll talk to you about what your preferences are, where you're most comfortable being roomed with. I see a question in the chat that says, can we do our own weekend trips? Absolutely, yes, you can. You are treated like an adult on this program, and your free time is your own to do with what you want. We just ask if you're going to leave the city that you report to Chad your plans. Where are you going? When do you plan to return? Just in case of emergency, so we know roughly where you are and how to contact you if we, worst case scenario. It looks like Chad has lots of suggestions for where you should go on those weekend trips.
Yeah, I'm still micromanager. I don't know.
And a lot of these really detailed questions are things that we cover at the pre-departure orientation and or in the Discord chat. And we'll have a channel that's like questions for Chad, questions for Andres, so that everybody can benefit from seeing those answers in a live format all through the summer.
All right, I'm gonna stop the recording right here. Thank you very much.